Good morning and welcome, students. This is the first of your revision classes in GSS Use of English 101. Today we'll be looking at basic language skills 1, Introduction to Academic Listening. Our topic is Basic Language Skills 1, Introduction to Academic Listening.
Network.
Sorry about that glitch. Start off by defining what listening is.
People are talking to
Listening
me.
is one of the basic skills essential to language proficiency. So in order to be good in any language, you need two skills. One is speaking and the other is listening. Our focus is on listening. So once again, it is a basic language skill that is essential to language proficiency. Listening is a linear process which consists of 3 components. 1, the encoder or the source of the message. B, or 2, the message itself. And 3, the decoder or the listener. It's a linear process, which means it's on a straight line, and the encoder or the source sends the message and the decoder receives it by listening. This is a traditional view of listening, which shows that words are denotive and the listener does not really do much to the verbal context. Comprehension is dependent on how well the listener decodes each word or phrase in the utterance. However, there is a more contemporary view of listening, which shows that it is different from hearing. Hearing is the innate ability whereby every noise is heard but not comprehended. That is why you see babies, when there's a loud noise, they react to it because they hear it, but they don't comprehend. So we cannot say that they are listening. Listening itself is more complex. It is a skill whereby the listener has the ability to hear the message and also interpret that message. And the message, sorry, I have a little hitch. One moment. Okay. So I said listening is a more complex skill, which involves cognitive processing that results in comprehension. So let's look at the psychological cognitive approach to listening. This approach recognizes that as much as listening is a receptive skill, that is a skill that you receive, it's a receptive skill. It also involves cognitive processing. This includes the interpretative component. And this component accounts for the extra linguistic variables, such as the speakers, because every speaker has his or her own style. So the speakers, the setting, where is the discourse taking place, the shared knowledge between both participants, the speaker and the hearer or the listener, and the background knowledge of the listener. All these variables interact and aid in the process of comprehension. Let's look at listening as a collaborative process. Listening is a collaborative process, which means that there should be more than one person taking part. And in that process, there is a collaboration between ostension, which is the production of signals by the speaker, and inference, which is the contextualizing of those signals by the listener. So in ostension, the speaker produces signals. That is the message, encodes the message. And it is the duty of the listener to be able to pick up those signals and put them into context so as to interpret them. This simply means that when the hearer listens to the speaker, the hearer's ability to comprehend or interpret is dependent upon, one, the ability to find links between what the speaker says and what the speaker means. We all know that sometimes speakers say one thing and that's not exactly what they meant to say. So the hearer has to find the link between what the speaker is saying and what the speaker actually means. And then two, the hearer's background knowledge. When a hearer or a listener has some knowledge of what is being discussed, it aids him or her better in interpreting the message. Unlike a hearer who has no knowledge whatsoever, who spends more time trying to interpret what that message means. Sorry about that. Let's continue looking at listening as a collaborative process. So I said the hearer has to find links between what the speaker says and what the speaker actually means. And these links are not straightforward. It's not easy for a listener to just find those links because we're talking about language, and we know that language is both denotative and connotative. That is, language has the two functions, the denotative function and the connotative function. When we talk about the denotative function, it simply means that every language carries meaning in its individual linguistic items or in its words. Each word carries meaning, and you know that some words have more than one meaning. So the listener has to find out which of the meanings is being put across or is being used in that verbal input. And then when we talk about the connotative function, it is inferential. Inferential means that the listener has to read in between the lines, and this is independent upon the history of the usage of the words. It's also dependent upon the linguistic items being used and the hearers and speakers' experience. And finally, the hearer's role in the verbal context. So in able to find out the connotative function of what is being put across, the hearer has to put in all these variables, and that will now help him or her to interpret the message. Like I said, there are certain roles that are, sorry about that, class, we're having a little hitch here.